This episode we have with Jenna Loving is very cool. We dig into her journey being in the industry for 20 years and just time after time having safety issue after safety issue that told her that she needed to do something about it. So she created an app. It just launched at the beginning of the year. She's already in 8 more cities as of 2 days ago, launching Agent Alert Pro, which is a safety tool for agents to be able to alert other agents about weird happenings and things that are a little off to keep them from going to empty houses, putting themselves within the safety issues. But Jenna is a lovely person that has a killer story that she shares on the show. Hope you guys enjoy. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Remington Ramsey. Real Producers is a national podcast where we interview the top real estate professionals in the world, as well as authors and speakers. And we are top 5% global. And it's because of guests like Jenna Loving. Jenna is a realtor 20 years running out in Tucson, Arizona, averaging 15 to 18 million in sales that entire time with 2 out of the 3 children working for you, which is exciting. You didn't get that third. Welcome to the show, Jenna.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Jenna, you've developed an app that we're going to get into for agent safety, and I'm excited to get there. But first, you had mentioned in the pre-show something I thought was interesting, which is you're serial entrepreneurs. You and your husband launched a couple of gyms, Anytime Fitnesses, 2014 and on, and COVID had basically shut down that side of that business, and you ended up selling. And I'm just curious, just to start at the top of the show, you remained in real estate. You've been resilient in real estate. Why did real estate keep going, but the gyms fail after COVID?
Well, as you remember, as a real estate agent during COVID, we were essential workers. So COVID kicked in and real estate took off. So here in Tucson, it was the busiest, craziest time ever. People were able to relocate and work from wherever they wanted, but the gym, you couldn't work out. So we were completely shut down. And you could get a massage eventually and your hair done, but they kept us shut down longer. So that was quite interesting. You don't.
I can tell you're a little bitter about those two things. Yeah,
a little bit. I could get my nails done and they could touch my hands, but they shut my gyms down for even longer.
I was going to say, remind me again. So when did they first start allowing people to work out in the gyms?
We were shut down for about 5 months. So
5 months.
Yeah. And we couldn't collect dues.
How long after that did you sell?
We were able to sell about a year or so after that, which we were very thankful for because it's a community gym. So we owned 2 of them and our members were very much friends, and our employees, some of them literally were family. So being able to find a buyer for that will continue it on for the community and employees that we just love to this day was very important. So we were blessed in that, but we had bigger goals in mind for the gyms that the plans went differently.
So was it one of those things where you probably, if you put the time and effort, it could have been salvaged, but real estate was so good, it was just a no-brainer to double down into real estate?
Well, it was a no-brainer to keep going with it, for sure. But when you go through something like that as a financial hardship, and watching what took you so long to build get decimated in months, it took its toll on us. So could we have stayed in it and rebuilt it? Absolutely. But it really it took everything out of us, and just the desire was gone. And to know that we could just be shut down at a whim, is scary. It's scary.
Well, it's your entrepreneurship that got you on this show, because you're currently the cover. I think once this podcast airs, you'll be the current cover in Tucson. So congrats, even in year 20, kicking it at the top. But the serial entrepreneur in you starting this app, how many other ventures, before we get into this current one with Agent Alert Pro, How many other ventures did you and your husband start along the way while also doing real estate? How many side hustles were there?
Um, well, I did a variety of different things, here and there, nothing really major. I'm always just thinking of ways to improve, um, not only just, my surroundings, but products. And my husband had an IT business. So him and his business partner ran that for many years. So we're just always kind of thinking that. So my poor husband's used to me coming to him and saying, "Hey, I have a great idea." And a lot of times they sound better in my head than what comes out. But this one stuck. This one, he said, "You might have something here."
Well, let's jump into that. And really, I'm excited to talk to you about this. Is something that's a hot button item in real estate, really the last 5 years, especially with some of the headlines in the news. But tell everyone what Agent Alert Pro is, and then I'm going to dig into how it all started.
Okay. So Agent Alert Pro is a platform only for licensed real estate agents. And it is a single location where agents can put in safety and scam alerts that are happening in their community. So as you mentioned, this is a growing problem on deed fraud and scams, and then also physical safety issues that seems to be increasing all the time. The problem is that as agents, when those things happen or come into our sphere, we don't tell anyone about it. And people that are doing these things are simply going down the list to find someone of opportunity to do whatever it is that their intentions are. And so this is a platform where agents can go in and put those incidents, and it's a notification that is sent to agents' phones, and it lets them know what's going on, so they're alerted about these incidents in their community. So national search, but local notifications.
Is it just for safety, or is it for updating on other things as well?
It's for scams too. So with deed fraud, which is just on the daily, putting those things in, it takes a long time for an agent to really kind of dig in and find out, does that person really own it? We're seeing fake trusts, fake IDs. AI is really changing the landscape too, with mobile notary verification, things like that. So by the time you figure these things out, you've spent a lot of time that could be on viable prospects and clients. So putting in the scam incidents is very helpful to fellow agents, so they can just look at their phone, and when that person contacts them, they can just simply say, "No, thank you," and move on about their day. So as far as the scams, same thing with the safety. You can just be more informed about things that are going on at your open house, or emails or texts or phone calls, or those kind of things.
Based on what we've talked about so far in terms of the things that you've invested in and the businesses that you've started, I can tell that you, like most serial entrepreneurs, kind of draw from your own life experiences and what you're into, starting a gym, fitness. This particular thing, I'm nervous to ask because it would seem that it would be you'd be inspired by your own life events to create something for safety. But do you care to tell us what that was?
Absolutely. And it wasn't any one single thing. There was one that was bigger than others, but I had just been contacted on regular occurrences for people to want to meet, or they're wanting things that aren't real estate related, and you just kind of hang up and move on. And I had, it was my daughter that's working with me at the time. She still does. And I had someone call and say, "Well, yeah, I see your daughter works with you too. She's pretty. I'll call her next." So I called my daughter and I said, hey, watch out for this. He's calling you next. She said, "Okay, got it." And this person did. So there was that, but then there was also another instance where this person only wanted to see vacant houses. And through the conversation, he could only name 8 of 10 of his kids. And it was just really fishy. And so you listen to your gut, you have really strong instincts, and you say no. Well, an agent was walking by my office and we were chatting, and she said, and she's a seasoned agent. She said, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to go show him property in a couple days." I said, "Please look further into that. This does not sound like a good idea." And so she came back to me about a week or so later and said, "Thank you so much for sharing that information with me. Yeah, I didn't go, but it was not legit. That is not what he was interested in." And so it was the string of incidences where I said, wow, we just need to be able to shout from the rooftops across brokerages, hey, watch out. This is what's going on in our community. And then 4 months later, it was October of 2022, one of our local agents, pregnant at the time, open house, attempted kidnapped. She lost her baby, and he went to Texas. That's where he was eventually caught. And it was that was a big moment. I'd already kind of started doing some research on what was out there for realtor safety and kind of like an Amber Alert and how do we let each other know. When this happened to our local agent, my heart just sank because I thought, what if I had this in place and I could have put that information out there and it could have avoided this entire situation for her or anyone else beyond me. And that was my big moment of, I've got to figure something out. If it's not out there, then we build it. So that's what we did.
Yeah, well, I commend you because I guarantee there's people are listening to the show and they have their own examples. I'm sure their mind races immediately to the time they felt uncomfortable or a story that they've told everyone in safety. You're someone who's actually done something about it. And so you took the next step to create a program that helps with this very thing. Now, currently, it's brand new and it's an app that just launched, as I'm told, in 8 new states 2 days ago. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes. We started in Arizona, with my home state. And yeah, we're in a total of 10 effective 2 days ago. So
you're explaining to me, and we experienced a little bit of this with there being no national MLS and real producers scaling to over 150 markets now. It's not the same process that most people would think. And so as you are working with states and boards and looking to expand, what do those conversations look like to get it adopted in those states?
Well, one of the first conversations is how to get the license numbers because it is only for real estate agents and only for active real estate agents. You have to be an active licensed agent to be able to use this platform. So in order to do that, there's a verification process that has to happen. National does not provide to a vendor that list of license numbers. So it's association by association. Now, some states make that very easy for me to get to. So those are the ones we're rolling with. But the conversation would be with each association, access to those license numbers. But also a lot of associations are looking at putting safety protocols in place as a priority, and brokers as well. My broker has decided to make Agent Alert Pro an offering for their agents at no cost. So the broker's covering it. Associations are looking at doing that. So we're just really trying to get the word out, get in front of as many associations, brokers, agents. I mean, there's 1.4 million agents in the United States. So if we can get this under a larger umbrella for more people to have quicker access to and start to put these things into that dedicated system, not only for themselves, but for their colleagues. That's the fastest way I can get there is through those avenues.
let's talk about how it works. You're in 8 states. Let's not focus so much on the scaling, because I'm sure that will happen in time with the discussions and the hustle that you're providing. But in the actual states that you have launched, including, testing in Tucson, I assume, what is the process by which I, as a realtor, participate in this?
You simply go to the App Store. So whether it's Google Play or the Apple Store, and download Agent Alert Pro. You put in your license number. There's a validation on our end. That's it. It's instant. And then you just start putting in those interactions that you're having. And then when you search, it searches not only your local area, but it will be national. So as someone in Indiana puts in something and I look for it in Tucson, if that person has been entered in that, I can see that and I can add on to it. So as an agent, you look up the person or whatever information that you have. And if you say, oh my gosh, I got contacted by that person also. So you add on your details for that interaction and you rate it. So that's the thing with this system, is it's a rating system from 1 to 5, because everybody's level of being safe, things like that, is different. So that was really important when I was developing this, that it's not just a put it out there. It's a what level of comfort did you have with this situation? Because Remington's idea of safety might be different than mine. So it'll average out. So then the next person that looks it up will say, okay, well, I think I'm still going to take the appointment, but now I'm aware. I can have the information ahead of time. I can be on alert. Or someone would say, nope, that's a hard pass. No, thank you. So it's proactive. It's not reactive. So there's a lot of tools out there for people to use for safety, which is wonderful. A lot of them are simply reactive. You are in trouble already. You can send a warning. You can hit a button and send alerts, or call someone to come meet you at your open house. But that's too late. So this is it's a proactive solution, and it's community based for all of us to be working together to let each other know when these things are happening, because they are happening.
So I imagine this happens mostly with cold calls, or not. It's not non-referral business. It's not people that you know or people that you know. It's people calling in from advertising. It's people calling in from cold outreach. And I imagine it's heavily based on preying on females, but I'm guessing it's all, and the fact that you are also addressing the scam alerts, which I think is going to be a big win as well, let alone the safety issues. What are the responses that you're getting from the agents that are, from the first test phase and things that are happening as they're starting to use the app? Is it helping their efficiencies?
It is. And oh my gosh, every time I present to a group, because we're getting a lot of requests to speak to groups about safety, about things they can do. And one of the first things I do that I really enjoy hearing back from people is, how many of you have ever had an instance? And almost every hand gets raised. Men, women, younger, older, it does not matter at all. The stories I'm hearing from people and what they are encountering and dealing with, it's heartbreaking. Some of these are violent. One guy had a boyfriend pull a gun on him because he didn't like that he was showing property to his fiance. You don't see that coming. This was a big guy in a very big truck. Open houses, another one of our agents, big guy. He had a situation with 2 guys that came into his open house. So it's not gender specific. It's not age specific. It's not even just residential resale. So in some of my research, it's new home site sales for robbery. We're opportunistic. We're by ourselves. But like you said, we do meet people we've never met before. And in the age of internet leads, people paying for internet leads, you're showing up to places having never met these people. And then there was one instance where the agent did the proper protocols that she was taught. She met the person at her office, did the whole vetting thing, and went to see the first house, completely turned on her. That was not his intention, but so even when you do these steps, it doesn't always prove the case. But what seems to be common is that this is not a one-time situation for the perpetrators. They continue to do this, and they just continue to go down the line. It's crazy. This one guy with a scam, 15 years scamming, but no one's reported him. So he's still doing it.
And so when you enter this information, it's on a person by person basis. So if you have someone that you feel uneasy about, you actually put their contact info and their name, because I'm guessing if they change their alias, but it's specifically their contact info that they're using that targets them in the app.
Yeah, and you can search by a variety of things. So whatever contact information you have, put in there, because there's a section for a description to describe the situation that happened to you. And then so when someone is, your names may change, even burner phones, but usually the story that they use is very similar. So it will search for keywords as well. So that's incredibly helpful, because especially if you're in an open house, you may not ever have the name or phone number of someone that just kind of barges in and goes from there. So, but you have descriptions, things like that.
This is very compelling. I'm interested in the app itself and how you came up with it. As you were taking the need that you saw, the stories that you kept hearing, and this desire to help, what led you to step one all the way to actually developing the app? Because I've met you a couple times. I don't think you're a coder. I think you do most other things in sales, but I am not either. How do you go about like realizing this dream of fixing and helping with this need, but creating a business out of it? What are the steps you take to do that?
Well, it actually, wonderfully enough, came from a real estate client from years ago. I remembered somewhere in the back of my head, he had mentioned something about app development, working with investors, things like that. And I reached out to him and said, hey, am I crazy, or do you have any kind of connection for this? Because I did kind of start to reach out and talk to app developers, and holy moly, it's expensive. It's not for the faint of heart. And I've been working on this for almost 3 years now. So long story short, he met with me, and much like my husband, he gets a lot of ideas that people think are great. And so I asked him, I said, what do you think? You can tell me, no, this is not a great idea. And he said, actually, I think this is a great concept, and it's for the greater good. And so he connected me with a gentleman that is here in town who does this sort of thing. And we've been working with him on it. So
is there plugs for other apps? So for instance, and I don't know enough about it, so this might be an ignorant question, but if you're using this app and it's an additional app, and that's one thing that I think is like a drawback to additional apps that aren't linked to each other, is there an option to be linked where they're already using not only their board, but Zillow, some of these other apps that consumers are using? Where are the plugs for this, or is it just a standalone app on your phone?
It is a standalone app on your phone. It is, it's dedicated simply for this one purpose of alerting people of these items. So that has been, in my research, some of the things with other apps that they're too cumbersome. So as an active agent, and having been doing this for a very long time, networking with all the agents in my community, we need things simple. We're dealing with a lot of things. And, you have to use an app to get into your lock boxes and your MLS, things like that. So the whole point of this was to be clean, simple, easy to use. There's no reason not even price. Is there any reason for you not to use something like this for the safety? But it's kind of like your health. You know, a lot of people don't appreciate your health and safety until something's taken from you. I have been broken into my car, and then had these other things happen, and recently ill. And when you don't have your health and safety, you just don't appreciate it till it's taken from you. And so we're trying to avoid that.
Yeah. Where can we find you, Jenna? If we want more information on Agent Alert Pro and everywhere you are, where do we go?
We have our website, agentalertpro.com, but we are heavy on social media. So Facebook, Instagram is where you can find us, and just download the app in your app store, Agent Alert Pro, and share it with your community, because it takes all of us to make this what it should be.
Sometimes we have darker subjects, and I would say like this is not something that people like talking about, but it's necessary. And the hope and the exciting thing is that you're tackling it. And so it's much more easy pill to swallow if there is an answer or a solution. And it seems like you found that, Jenna. So thanks for being on the show and sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me and allowing me to share this with all your amazing viewers.
Yeah, and you can also meet Jenna. This has been Jenna Loving. She will be at RP Elevate if you want to answer more questions that you have for this, or getting involved in the program itself. rpelevate.com to get your tickets. You can meet her and 30 other real estate speakers that will be on stage, in addition to Molly Bloom, Steve Sims, Tom Ferry, and many other keynotes. Thanks for being on the show, Jenna.
Absolutely. Thank you.